Firewood is a sustainable fuel that can help you stay warm during a long-term grid down scenario or just a short-term power outage. Hi, I'm Ben, and I'm a Provident prepper. Firewood has been warming the home and hearth since the beginning of time. In this video, my parents will explore how to use firewood as a fuel source to warm your family when the power goes out.
Firewood is a renewable heat source that can truly be a long-term solution to heating in a grid-down situation. Now, we recognize that many of you do not have the ability to heat using firewood, either due to local laws prohibiting it or just the inability to afford one of these expensive fireplaces or wood-burning stoves. However, this is for those of you who can, because it really is a fantastic long-term sustainable way to heat your home. This video is based on an article written by Beth Lestico, and this is her fireplace, and this is how she heats her 2,800 square foot home. You can purchase wood-burning stoves that are highly efficient, and the one on the right is our wood-burning cook stove that enables us to both heat our home and cook our food.
Of course, these appliances do require some maintenance. You do need to make sure that you inspect the chimney and the flue to make sure that they are clean and operating properly.
Because a chimney fire could totally destroy your home. Don't overlook this. Make sure on a regular basis that you are sweeping that chimney.
You also need to maintain door gaskets and make sure your firebox is in good condition.
Don't neglect to remove the ash buildup from the firebox. Ash buildup can cause your wood stove to be damaged, and it will reduce the lifespan of the firebox and the grate. You'll need a good fireplace scoop and an ash bucket to transport the ash. This garbage can belonged to my daughter, who allowed the ash to cool for 16 hours before she dumped it into the garbage can. Obviously, that wasn't long enough.
We also have a friend who came home to find that their garbage can was nothing more than just a little puddle of plastic. It had burned it right to the ground.
Lesson learned. Cool the ash completely. You need special tools in order to safely tend to your fire. And fire starters are incredibly valuable. Sometimes it can be really frustrating getting that fire started. It's really easy to maintain that fire, but getting it started can be a little bit frustrating. The center photo is a picture of Christy doing her 4th grade science project on the best fire starters. The number one fire starter that we found was a pine cone that we dipped in wax. The reason it was so great was because the wax caught fire very quickly, and the pine cone burned long enough to catch the kindling on fire and make a really nice hot fire. We make fire starters using an egg carton. We put lint in it, and sometimes we'll put paper shreddings on it, and then we will just dump hot wax over it. We'll cut those apart, and when it's time to make the fire, we use a couple of those to start it, and they work really well, and it's just using things we would have thrown away. This is Beth's kindling box, and you can see she needs a lot of kindling to keep that house warm. The white bags in the back are tree bark that Beth collects and are a very good source for kindling. Now, don't be fooled. A nice fire may seem romantic, but it takes a lot of hard work to make that fire happen. Obtaining firewood is not for the faint of heart. The first step is to go out and harvest the firewood. Depending on where you live, you may be able to harvest the firewood right off of your own property. For us, we collect a lot of our tree prunings, but we use those in a rocket stove because they're smaller. We don't live in a forested area, so we have to go out and collect ours. Beth recommends obtaining firewood from slashings, which is an area of the forest that's recently been logged, or from blowdowns, trees that have just blown down. Sometimes you can obtain firewood by offering to help someone clean up their land, especially after a storm. And we have been able to obtain a lot of our firewood just by doing this.
Here are a couple of good chainsaws that Beth recommends, the Husqvarna 455 Rancher and the Stihl MS170. The first of these is a larger saw for cutting larger logs. The Stihl saw is a smaller saw, and they use that for cutting limbs off of the larger logs.
The benefit of having 2 chainsaws is that when you are cutting, that big heavy one gets really heavy and your muscles start to hurt. And by giving yourself a break and using the smaller chainsaw for the smaller jobs, it just makes the whole thing easier. And once it's all cut, then you need to haul it home, whether that's in a pickup truck or in one of these Otter sleds like Beth does.
From there, the wood needs to be split. Now, I really enjoy splitting wood. There's something really satisfying to me about doing that. Here I'm teaching Ben how to do it. But there are a variety of tools that you can use, everything from a hatchet to a splitting maul to an axe. And you need to decide which tools are best for you. I happen to like a splitting maul myself, but other people like an axe. And then for kindling, a hatchet is very handy. When you're splitting the amount of wood that Beth is splitting, a hydraulic log splitter is the only way to go. It saves a lot of time, not to mention your back and your muscles. As with all of your equipment, make sure that you maintain it properly. Taking time to do these cleaning and maintenance items will make sure that your equipment serves you well for a long time. Most chainsaws have a 2-stroke engine, which means you're going to be using a fuel-gas mixture. In addition, there you can see the bar oil. Making sure that you keep that bar lubricated is vitally important.
And if you're not up to all that hard work, you can purchase your firewood. You'll see displays like this all over the place. This is the most expensive way to purchase firewood. Look on your local classifieds and someone around you will be selling firewood, and most of the time they will come and deliver it right to your door. When we first built this home, we wanted to make sure that we had plenty of firewood in case something happened. And so we purchased 2 dump truck loads of firewood. And that's how we got started. And now we just maintain it. And every year we go out and get more ourselves. But initially we did purchase that.
Seasoning your firewood is another important part of the process. Seasoned wood is wood that has been given a year or two to dry out. Dry wood is going to provide the most heat and burn the cleanest. By burning green wood, you increase the risk of creosote buildup, and that's what causes chimney fires. You just really want to make sure that wood is dried out and seasoned.
Different varieties of wood have different BTUs, so they perform at different levels. Some wood will burn long and hot, while others are quick and they'll have a low heat output. Some burn very clean, while others produce a lot of creosote, smoke, and ash. Identify which woods in your area would best suit your purposes. And then everybody talks about a cord of firewood. A cord of firewood measures 4 feet by 4 feet by 8 feet when it's stacked really tightly, or 128 cubic feet.
The way that you store your firewood is also important. On the left, you can see Beth's firewood shed that allows them to store up to 15 cords of wood neatly stacked in there. But you do the best you can. On the right is one of our wood piles. It's not ideal, but it gets the job done. You'll want to also make sure that you're storing this wood away from the house. Rodents and spiders and snakes and all kinds of things like to make their homes in these areas, and so you just want to make sure those things are out away from your home. In the picture on the right, you can also see that we have made some pallets to store that wood on, so that is up off the ground and you can get some airflow in and around it. Firewood does have a shelf life. Your optimal performance and the greatest heat is going to occur in the first 5 years or so.
Somehow we've got to get that firewood from the shed into the house, and that can be a royal pain. Beth uses the tote that you see there on the left to bring the firewood into her home, and then to haul it longer distances, she uses these Otter sleds. Pulling the Otter sleds makes the heavy load much easier to transport over longer distances.
As always, safety is the first priority. Make sure that you have operating smoke and fire and carbon monoxide alarms, as well as fire extinguishers close by.
We want to give a big shout out to Beth Lestico and her husband. Thank you so much for teaching us what we need to know about using firewood as an emergency and everyday fuel source. We invite you to visit the Provident Prepper and read the post that Beth wrote entitled All About Firewood, Great Fuel for Heating Without Electricity.
A couple of videos that we think might interest you on our YouTube channel are Let the Storm Rage On and Prepare for a Power Outage. Check them out.
I'm a huge fan of using firewood to warm my house every day as well as in a power outage. And now for the question of the day. What experience do you have warming your house with firewood? Comment below, and thanks for being part of the solution.